Okay. Still have a couple of things to set up here. I have the kettle going for tea. As soon as that's done, we'll get the tea ready. So, and I made a new banner, and I'll get to this in a second. There we go. Cool. Okay. Put that there for now. Okay. I'll talk about this bagged up sketch in a minute. Okay. Getting my second sketchbook ready. Okay. There we go. That was yesterday's sketch. We'll have that displayed. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for joining in. I should probably send a message to Carlos, like a DM on Instagram. That's usually how we text back and forth. It's just Instagram DMs, just to let him know, in case he's not doing anything. But glad to see Jessica is here. Hello, Jessica. Thank you for joining in. Looking forward to when Popcorn and Opal can finally pop in. I'm expecting them sometime around 2:30. We'll see. Let me go get a glass of water. The tea kettle is going right now. It hasn't gone off yet, so we'll give it a minute. There we go. In the meantime, water. Okay, got the water. Okay. Love the little emoji. Oh, that water is cold. I'm so used to room temperature water because we have a Brita filter attached to the sink head, but the filter really needs to change. So we haven't done that yet. So I'm drinking water out of the fridge. I'm so used to room temperature water that cold water is like, So we're just going to let that sit there and get to room temperature-ish. So anyway, let's do a little bit more of a relaxed tone, at least for the beginning portion of this stream. So also, Jessica, I want to give you a shout out. Thank you for backing my new Kickstarter campaign. For folks who are watching the replay of this, I'll talk a little bit about the new Kickstarter that I just launched yesterday. So every year since 2017, I've been participating in an artist challenge called Inktober. Inktober is where you draw a new ink drawing every day during the month of October. Usually there's an official prompt list that I ignore. I just decide on a theme and I draw to that theme every day during October. When I first participated in the challenge in 2017, my theme was witches. When I did it in 2018, I did gods and spirits. Then 2019 was dragons. And then 2020, I actually did two, but I did not put them into books. And we'll get to that in a second. I hear the kettle going off. today's tea selection is going to be different than usual. I'm going to do peppermint. Shout out to my friend Chloe Rose for getting me this peppermint tea. It is delightful. I'm going to have me a cup. You think we have enough teaspoon measures in this house? There we go. Once upon a time, I had a green teapot that let you actually strain the leaves into the tea. Unfortunately, I do not have this teapot anymore because it was actually my younger siblings. So I left it behind when I moved into the apartment. Okay. Anyway, so I was talking about Inktober. Yes, I did participate in Inktober of 2020. And then 2021. So in 2020, I did two. Technically, I did two Inktobers. One was drawing a bunch of cats for my side project, Kitties by Kelsey. The other was drawing landscapes because I wanted to get better at drawing landscapes. Then in 2021, I drew one comic, one panel at a time, called Puzzle Spell. This year, I did Inktober again. And for this Inktober, the theme was characters from my comics, my role-playing games, my novels, and other stories. And I wanted to do that for a couple different reasons. We'll get to that in a bit. But long story short, I've been drawing every day pretty consistently. All I have left is the drawing for actually tomorrow. I got a day ahead. I have today's sketch already done. So this was yesterday's. This is Leslie. I really like Leslie. He's been lingering in my sketchbook since at least 2018. Had no idea what his deal was. But after working on the script for Vanita and the Demon King, I was like, there's room for another story after Vanita and the Demon King featuring this guy. And then I went, what if this is Acrodon and Claudia's child? And I was like, I could follow along with that. So yeah, that is who this character is. This is Leslie, aka Claudia and Acrodon's grown adult child. Like a few years into the future, obviously. Time skip. But yes, I like his staff too. His staff is really cool. Today's sketch is Billy Velocci from Thoughtful Dinosaur. If only Bobby the writer was watching this. Bobby, if you're watching the replay, hello. This is for you. I know for a fact after talking with Bobby the writer that Billy Velocci is one of his favorite characters. This is from my comic Thoughtful Dinosaur. I love her. All that leg. So that was today's sketch. I figured today I could draw the sketch that we'll post on Instagram tomorrow. Because again, I'm a day ahead. So I don't know which character I'm going to draw, though. I have so many characters. And we can do a kind of recap a kind of a recap showing the various sketches done throughout Inktober as like a little highlight reel almost. And also to give you an idea of the sketches that will appear in The Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. This is my new Kickstarter project. So just about every year since 2017, I take the Inktober sketches that I've drawn and put them all into one art book and then put that art book up on Kickstarter for people to pre-order copies. I'm doing that again this year. This year's sketchbook is The Stars of Fantasyville. It's up on Kickstarter now. Link on the screen, tinyurl.com/stars of Fantasyville. And there's a hyphen between each word. Hello, Susu. Good to see you. We were just talking about Inktober and how I'm putting all of my Inktober sketches together into one book. The book is now on Kickstarter. We're hoping to fund the first print run of the book. So to find out more about that, head to tinyurl.com/stars of Fantasyville. And that's stars-of-Fantasyville. There's also a link in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on my blog, there's also a link in links, by the way. Okay, I'm going to check on the tea. I have tea steeping. Okay. Could use more peppermint. I'm going to let it steep a little longer. Here we are. I heard the tapping cup sound. Yeah, that was me spinning the spoon around in this mug. Shout out to my friend Chloe for giving me this Mothman mug. I love him to bits. And on the other side is the Point Pleasant, West Virginia bridge. The bridge that collapsed. It's either Point Pleasant or Mount Pleasant, but I want to say it's Point Pleasant because I used to live in that neck of the woods. Okay, so, oh, thank you. I really like this mug. Shout out to my friend Chloe. She gifted that to me as a present. So, okay, Susu, you were talking about the sketches. I think you mean the October sketches. I know you said November, but I think you mean the October sketches. Because Inktober usually takes place in October. November is a different challenge. We'll get to that later. So yeah, I was talking about my Inktober theme for this year. My Inktober theme was characters from my stories. Oh no, November. I don't know if there's any art challenges happening in November. I know there's a writer's challenge happening in November called National Novel Writing Month, and we can talk about that later. But if there's no... Are you asking if this is a November sketch? Is that what you're asking? This is actually something I wanted to bring up a little bit later, but I'll talk about it now since we're talking about it now. There was a weekend that I was like, I'm going to take the day off and I'm not going to draw. And then this mermaid was like, no, you're going to draw me. And I was like, okay, I will draw you then. So that is what this is. This is largely Copics, though there is Tombow in here. There's a Tombow color in here for the background colors in particular. I really like how this turned out. I'm going to list this as a limited edition add-on for my Kickstarter campaign. So on my Kickstarter for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, most of the rewards, super basic. Why? I'm putting the meat and potatoes, the really good stuff, in the add-ons. So what does that mean? Say that you want to support my book. Head on over to tinyurl.com/Stars of Fantasyville. And if you decide that you really want to get a copy of the book, you go to pledge and you're like, yes, I want to pre-order a copy of this book. That'll take you to the next screen, and the next screen will ask, would you like to add anything to your order? That's what the add-ons are. And for add-ons, there's a bunch of options. And I made sure to flesh out as many options as possible. The add-ons include sketchbooks from previous years. So when I talked about witches, gods and spirits, or dragons, I put those together into art books of their own. And those will be available as add-on purchases. So that's there. There's also my Charlie and Clow comic stories. There's also The Legend of Jamie Roberts, Volume 1. There's two versions of it. One's the misprint version. One is the standard version. The misprint version is actually the first print run of the book. Now's a good time to point out that for the Stars of Fantasyville, I am working with a new book printer. Because last year I did a Kickstarter for The Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 1, and I did not catch this right away. It was actually a backer who pointed this out to me after I shipped books out. I shipped out the books, and then somebody sent me a comment saying, hey, there was a printer error in the middle of chapter 2. It looks like this. Is that supposed to be there? And I looked at it and went, oh no. And then I checked all of the remaining volumes that I had not shipped out yet, and the printer error was in those pages. And so I went to the Kickstarter update section and I wrote a post asking, hey, if you've received your book already, could you please let me know if this is in your book? And the printer error was in their books. Because as it turned out, my book printer who printed The Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 1 messed up the first volume. I was so mad. I was so mad. They did reprint it for free. And in that second printing, the error was fixed. However, that was over like 50 books ruined in that first print run. So for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, I switched to a new book printer. This new book printer I found out about while working on Less Than Secret, a sketchbook. No, sorry. I'm so used to talking about sketchbooks. Less Than Secret is a comics anthology. Point of clarification. So Less Than Secret was actually not run by me. It was run by my friend Ben and his buddy Rainer. For that one, that was the anthology series that I did a short story about the Mothman. So that was a lot of fun to do. While we were putting the book together, we were talking about who we would print the book through. And a couple of printers were floated around, and eventually they decided on a company called Mixam. That's Mixam. You know, this is something that I might pitch to Ben and Rainer. Less Than Secret, a sketchbook would be an awesome book. Yeah, I kind of want to pitch that idea to them to be like, hey, maybe we can do like the sketchbook version of Less Than Secret and do like, you know, sketches around this anthology. That's an idea. I might float that to them. We'll see what they make of that suggestion. So when we were working on Less Than Secret, we picked Mix'em to print the books. And I don't remember what prompted us to choose them over everybody else, but there were a number of factors about the company that we really liked. One was the price per copy. When you're working with book printers, sometimes they'll have a minimum order of how many books that they will print. Yes, Susu, this did work really well. So when we worked with Mix'em, the cost per book to get it printed was actually priced like, I'm not sure that I want to say exact numbers here, but I'll go ahead and say exact numbers here. Because the book Less Than Secret, a cryptid anthology, has a paperback version. The paperback version sells at a retail price of $15. When we get it printed, it usually prints for about $3.50 a copy, which is really, really good. It is also way better pricing than my old book printer. My old book printer, I could print like 5 to 10 copies at a time, but it was, yeah, Jessica, absolutely. That was us when we were working with Mix'em. Just shut up and take my money. It was a lot of that. So we worked with Mix'em because we were like, oh man, this profit margin will actually help us compensate all of the creative people who contributed to this anthology and get them a nice bonus. So that worked in favor for us. And when I looked at the pricing for getting my own books printed, I put in some specifics because Mix'em has a calculator. It has a pricing calculator. It'll be like, how do you want the paper quality on the inside? What do you want the paper quality of the cover to be? Is this in color or black and white? What are some other specs about it? What size is it? How many pages is it? That sort of thing. Once you input all of that information into Mix'em's calculator, I did the pricing, and then after I stared at it. I stared at it because when I put in the information for Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, I took a look at the number for how much would it cost to print 100 copies of this, given these specific things about the book. And Mix'em was like, it would cost about $247 to print 100 copies of this book. And I went, that's the same price my old printer would charge me to print like 25 copies. So at that point, I was like, why haven't I worked with Mix'em before? So I'm just going to Mix'em to print the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. Not to knock the previous printer. The previous printer was fine up until the kerfuffle with The Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 1. They were okay. They were great. But Mix'em is just so much better for actually pricing my book in such a way that people can afford it and I can get paid. It's so nice. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to do that. The other great things about Mix'em that I really like is that they source their paper from a couple of different places, but their primary reason that they source the paper that they do is sustainability. So they print on recycled paper and they source their paper from sustainable sources, which is, I really like that. I really like that as somebody who, I prefer holding physical books. My second favorite way to like read is audiobooks, but I much prefer physical books. And I know that there are a lot of people out there who also prefer physical books, particularly with art books and comics. But I also acknowledge the printing industry is not exactly the most sustainable thing. I have a novelist friend of mine who she decided she was never going to get physical copies of her book into the world, and she was going to keep all of her new book releases digital only, publishing via like Kindle, Amazon, any place else that people can read books digitally. But sorry, distracted by the comments section. When I say physical books, I mean something like this, a physical book. Sorry, what I just did made me think of it was an Elizabeth Gilbert piece of wisdom. Because Elizabeth Gilbert said in an interview once that authors will often say that the book is your baby. The book is not your baby, because here's what you can do. Here's what you can do with a book. Here's what you can do with a book. If you did that to a baby, you would be arrested. And she said as much in her interview. So no, books are not your baby. But talking about books, when I say physical books, I mean a book that you can hold in your hand and flip it open and be like, oh, yes, I can read from here. That's what I mean. Ugh. I have a few books that would put a hole in the floor if I did that. I have a couple that are like that too. I have a concept art book for Pacific Rim in the other room that I'm pretty sure that sucker could drill a hole into the floor if I threw it on the floor like that. It's a good thing I have carpet. Anyway, so when I looked at Mix'em, they source their paper sustainably. The other thing that they do is they print with vegetable-based inks. So yes, the book is going to have a different sort of smell when you open it up to read it, because there are people who read physical books because of that new book smell. It's almost like new cars, but nicer. But it's still like, sustainably sourced stuff. I really like sustainably sourced things, particularly when it comes to making books and art. So all of that is why I went with Mix'em. Not just because of the kerfuffle with The Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 1 last year, though that was a big factor in making the decision. Full disclosure. So yeah, we're going to be printing through Mix'em. If we make our goal on Kickstarter. I mean, if we don't make the goal, I'll find a new way to get it funded. I've had 15 successful crowdfunding campaigns before, most of them on Kickstarter, one on Ko-fi, one on Crowdfunder. So I know what I'm doing. But if we don't make the goal for this one, I can tweak it and relaunch it. I actually did that with Gods and Spirits, a sketchbook, way back in the day. The first Kickstarter campaign for that book actually failed. So I went back, saw what I did wrong, adjusted as needed, relaunched it. And when I launched it the second time, we met the goal. So if the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, does not reach their goal in this campaign, I'll take a look at what I did, retool some stuff, and relaunch it. But fairly sure we're going to make our goal. The objective is to meet our goal before November 18th. So that's about 3 weeks. Oh man, that's awful. I'm so sorry. I love that new book smell, but now I'm allergic to it. Eye roll. I am so sorry. That is awful. Oh. One sec, I need a sip of tea. It's like, I have a cousin who really loved cucumbers, but now she's allergic to cucumbers, so she can't eat them anymore. It's unfortunate. It's like, I really liked bananas, and they were my go-to lunch snack when I worked at Cedar Point. Unfortunately, I guess my body was like, nope, you're having too many bananas. I'm going to make your mouth itch every time you eat them now. And I'm like, that's the start of an allergy. It's definitely a sensitivity. Maybe I should not eat bananas anymore. So I have not eaten a banana since then. Yeah, there's all kinds of weird like food sensitivities and allergies that exist in the world. Mine is just bananas. I don't know. Anyway, so yes, this mermaid is going to be a add-on for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. This is going to be one of the higher end add-ons. So this is going to be minimum price $50 because this is a original. This is not a print. This is an original. It's 6x8, I think. I have to double check the measurements. It's either 6x8 or 5x7. It's sized so that you can easily get a frame for it. It's just, I'm not going to provide that frame. I will keep it bagged and boarded so that it's nice and protected in transit. But the art is going to be minimum $50 to get this. I want to know in euro. I don't know what the conversion is. I am sorry. I'm a super taster, so there's a lot of food I can't stand the taste of, especially bitter flavors. When I went on HRT, it got worse. So many foods I miss, like salmon. Oh, man. Oh, that stinks. Well, here's a question for you, though. Now that you've been on HRT for a little while, what are your favorite foods that you like that you didn't like previously? Because that is interesting to me. That is a side effect I've not heard before. I mean, I have a friend of mine who also went on HRT, but her side effects were more on the, how do I phrase this? She was already on a lot of medication for antipsychosis, and HRT actually exacerbated a lot of the side effects from the antipsychotic medications. Because as it turns out, whenever people test medications, they test them for male bodies. They don't test them for anybody who's on estrogen. So there's that to consider. Well, okay, Susu, people calling you crazy because you number your pages in your sketchbook. People do this in bullet journals all the time, and they're not crazy. You're absolutely allowed to number your pages in your sketchbook. If it makes it easier for you to find a sketch later because you know what page number it's on, if it's helpful to you, keep doing that. Okay, water's not room temperature yet. So we'll keep it to the tea. Okay. All right, we're going a little off topic. Let's circle back to Inktober for a minute. Let me get the sketches out. Ugh, there we go. Okay. I actually did a TikTok of the first half of the month's Inktober sketches. So if you have not seen that yet, check it out. I also reposted it on my Instagram page. I might also repost it on, I might repost it on YouTube as a YouTube short later. I just need to figure out how to do that. Okay. So we have, let me see if I can get this. Yes. Okay. We're just going to go through this one at a time. We have Acrodon. and Claudia and Vanita. All three of these characters and the next one, Clow, are part of the same universe. Clow from the Charlie and Clow Adventures. Acrodon and Claudia are from The Case of the Wendigo. Vanita is from a new comic that's not out yet. I'm putting the script together. It's called Vanita and the Demon King. This is Clow from Charlie and Clow and The Case of the Wendigo. This is, well, there's the spoiler in pencil spoiling who he is. So this is Basho's twin, because Basho has a twin brother. This is Malice from my D&D campaign that I'm running right now. See if I can turn the freaking pages. Thank you, Susu. I see your comment. This is Gunter from The Others. The Others is a story that I will be rewriting for this year's National Novel Writing Month Challenge, which starts in a couple of days. The script is still being worked on. Hello, Carlos. Happy to see you. We're just showing off the sketches that I've done for Inktober. We'll be going in more detail in a bit. But this is Gunter from The Others. The Others is a comic script that I'm going to be working on for National Novel Writing Month. I actually started writing it earlier, like, oh gosh, I'd have to double check the dates. So I'm going to be a rebel for National Novel Writing Month. Because the objective with NaNoWriMo, as it's sometimes called, the objective is to start on an entirely new story and to write out 50,000 words in 30 days. I'm not doing that. I will be instead drawing like stick figure comic book pages for comic scripts for the second draft of The Others for National Novel Writing Month. Will there be the Anothers? So the Anothers is probably a band from the world of Johnson and Sir, let's be real. So anyway, The Others is in their own universe. And we can talk about those in a bit. But this is Gunter. He is half human, half other. This is Johnson from Johnson and Sir. Love them. This is Jamie Roberts from The Legend of Jamie Roberts. They use all of the pronouns. He, she, she, they, all the pronouns. They will take all of them. This is Virgil Weiss. I always have to check myself because I keep accidentally calling this character Victor. It is not Victor. This is Virgil. Love Virgil. He is so fun. Fulus Abiris from a story that is currently a work in progress. It's actually a novel. The first draft has been written. I'm letting it sit before I approach the second one. But this is the main character from that story. He's a radio show host and just a local celebrity in his small town. This is Kay. This is Malice's child, only child. The last Valkyrie in existence currently. Their wings are not out in this version. If you want to see the version with their wings out, check out my Kickstarter profile and look up the Kay the Valkyrie wall print campaign that I ran back in the day. Because it's there. This is Victor, the Archthrone. This guy is Kay's sworn enemy. He's also Malice's sworn enemy. The reason for that is because Victor had claimed Malice's wife as kind of a bride prize, and Malice's wife was like, no. And so he went on a rampage. Malice tore off his arm. That's why he only has one arm. So he's on this quest to basically end Malice and Kay so that he can have Angora all to himself. That's their plot line. Yes, Victor is missing an arm. Because Malice ripped it off. Ripped it off and then beat him over the head with it. This is Archie. I played as him in Urban Shadows. We did a actual play recording for my podcast, The Fourth Leg. In the actual play, we played through Urban Shadows for like 5 episodes, and I played Archie. He is so much fun. He's the most fabulous wizard to walk on the east side of Chicago. And his roommate is a flapper girl ghost. It's great. I love it. Michael Jackson mode activated. Yes, absolutely. Like Archie just walks into a room and he's like, "Hello, my good bitch." I love him so much. I love role-playing as him. He's just so much fun. This is Seamus from The Others. This was a character I actually rewrote. In the original draft, they were cisgender. Now I'm like, nah, you're gender fluid. So they are a they, them. Oh, well, thank you for giving the podcast a listen. I appreciate that. I actually really need to listen to our latest episode. Our latest episode dropped just a couple of days ago, all about character voice. Have a lot of thoughts about that. So if you want to give that a listen, let me get my website up. Head on over to kelseydcrawford.com/links. When you do that, in the links section, there's a link to the Fourth Leg podcast. Check that out. Check out the new episode. There's also going to be a link on my website to my new Kickstarter campaign. Get that back up. Okay. Yeah, I get that. I have seasons where I don't know if the microphone is picking that up, but hold on. Boo Boo is yelling in the other room. Boo Boo? Honey? I'm right here. I look at her and I say I'm right here and she just meows at me. Madam, you can come out into the living room. Yes, you're allowed. Yes, come here. I'm not going to scoop you. You're a little bit of a chonk, but you are very cute. Yes. Yeah, that's my I'm talking to the cat's voice. That's just me whenever I talk to the cats. I'm like, yes. What do you see, Boo Boo? I have to keep an eye on her sometimes because I have a house plant that I have named Dorothy because I inherited it from my grandmother. I caught Boo Boo this morning with her face just into the leaves of Dorothy, and I'm like, what are you doing? Usually she just high fives the leaves. And by high fives, I mean, because Dorothy's a bit of a fern. So the leaves just kind of like hang out like that. And so Boo Boo will come over and she'll be like on the leaves. And I'm like, what are you doing? Anyway, back to the sketches. Okay, so this is Seamus from The Others. Really glad that I gave their character an overhaul for the second draft. They are so much more fun to work with now. This is Nautilus from The Others. He is a cyborg experimented on, made mute, and now he's out in the world ready to kill all others. This is Angora. This is Malice's wife and Kay's mother. She is the last Valkyrie. I made the wings dark gray as a reference to Odin. I also drew her in a previous live stream. If you would like to check that out, check out my YouTube channel. There you go. Oh, this just has a bunch of like test inks. Yeah, I really like how Angora turned out. She is so cool. Oh, these were warm-up sketches that I did. I don't know if you can see that, but I did a bunch of warm-up sketches and a bunch of like reference sketches because there were some comic panels that I was like, I really like that. So I drew that. This is Occitan from a novel called The Name of the Forest Spirit. Really like how he turned out. I actually really like how his armor turned out now that I've had several days of not looking at it. Oh, that's another sketch. Here we are. This is Rune Mage, also from The Name of the Forest Spirit. This is a highway bandit who tries to rob Occitan and then fails. There's a number of things that he does that he tries and he fails at, but he's just so charismatic and he tries anyway. So that is it for this sketchbook. Rune Mage was the last sketch that I did in this book. Now, I did not know this, but there are apparently some people who will pick up an entirely new sketchbook for Inktober and only use that sketchbook for Inktober sketches. I don't do that. I'm just like, okay, this is the sketchbook that I've been working in for several months now, and now I'm going to do Inktober. So what page did I leave off on? Boop, there we go. Oh my God, frickin' tell me about it. Yes. Like, you know, it's interesting going back to the early days of validation and seeing how your style has changed over time. Girl, I'm in charge of posting comic strips for validation on Validation's Instagram profile. And right now we are still in like, because validation lasted like 500 pages. We're at about page 106. With validation, and I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh wow, this hurts. This hurts to look at. I could redraw this and fix so much. Like, it is a big leap. Turns out whenever you draw 10,000 times, drawing number 1 will look very different from drawing number 10,000. Susu, there are people who draw black and white comics, like, and there are also, not that manga is a good comparison, but with manga's in black and white like all the time. I say that's not a good comparison because with the manga pipeline, the credits are a little misleading. On the covers, it'll say like story by artist. What they don't tell you is that that artist has assistants and each assistant does different things. Like Akira Toriyama, the guy who drew Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, he had an assistant who filled in backgrounds for him. Like, he would draw the main characters. Absolutely, he would do that. But then the assistant would go back in and draw the backgrounds in each panel. Aw, thank you. Puzzle Spell was in black and white and it looked really good. Thank you. It was a really nice return to form. I really like working in black and white ink drawings, particularly for short form comics. I appreciate that. I like that old style. It had a unique feel to it that stood out. I will say that. I will say, looking at old validation comics, they do stand out, particularly against other webcomics of the time. Yeah, I feel like, Jessica, you're commenting for Susu, or you're commenting towards Susu. But I'll go ahead and highlight this because this is just a good art wisdom. Don't feel bad that your art doesn't look like others. If you enjoy yourself, what does it matter what others think? Now would also be a good time to bring up a Neil Gaiman quote, because somebody had come up to him during a author Q&A section, and this advice also applies to artists. So I will let you know what he said. The person came up and asked the question, there's a story that I really want to write, but I'm afraid it's going to sound like every other story in that genre. What should I do? And Neil Gaiman's advice was, to me, that sounds like you're saying, this is my best Neil Gaiman impression. To me, that sounds like you're saying that there's enough bakers in the world, or there's enough violin players, or there's enough politicians. Maybe there's enough politicians, but none of those are you. Yes, there may be a lot of stories out there in the world, but none of those are yours. Only you can tell your story. And that is very much true for art. You are the only person who can make your art. Also, yes, on a technical level, black and white works better for zines. I love little black and white zines. They are so much fun. I do run a zine club now, and you can get zine club memberships as an add-on if you back my Kickstarter campaign. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So when I make zines, I do them almost exclusively in black and white. They're easier to replicate. Absolutely. Keep drawing. The more you draw, the more you find your style, and the better you get at what you like. That to a T. Absolutely. The more you draw, the more that you'll be like, I really like how I did this. I will keep doing this. I really don't like how this turned out. I'm going to fix that. Like, this is also why artists really shouldn't look at their old work too much with the whole like, oh, the old art is so bad kind of mentality. Like, okay. So I had finished up that sketchbook, and then I started a new one. Okay, I'll show off the stickers that I put on the cover for this, although some of them are a little risque. One of these was a gag sticker a friend of mine got me, and I just went, no. Like, thanks, I hate it, but I stuck it on there anyway. There we go. This is the one that I'm like, thanks, I hate it. If you know who he is, you know why. But in case you're curious, Magnolia Thunderpussy is a record store in downtown Columbus, Ohio, off of Short North. Highly recommend them. This is Meryl from Trigun. I have a small series of stickers done in this style of other Trigun characters. It's great. Cat Mom from Sydney, who runs the Columbus Cartooning Coalition. Shout out to Sydney. And then there's like some side stickers over on this end. I haven't finished putting stickers on this thing yet. There will be more. Oh, Susu. If you have Clip Studio Paint has hand models, like 3D models that you can use to draw hands. There you go. You just pose the hand to wherever it is that you need it to go, and then you can draw on top of it. It's great. I've used it once or twice for some tricky hand positionings, but it's there. So continuing the Inktober sketches, this is Star. She is from the same story that Felucibiris is from. She's a sea nymph. Really like how she turned out. This is Roisin from the same story that Star and Fulus are in. She is a working model. She takes a small vacation in the small town that Fulus lives in because she's she's in a bit of a moral dilemma because she really wants to break up with her boyfriend, but she's feeling really conflicted about it. Turns out the reason she feels conflicted about it is because she does not like conflict. She is conflict avoidant. I know about this because I finished writing the first draft and I'm like, girl, so much of your life would be so much better if you actually just stepped up and said, like, thanks, I hate it. This is Cleaver from The Name of the Forest Spirit. The same story that Occitan and Rune Mage are from. He is a bounty hunter. And Rune Mage is a bounty. So at some point, Rune Mage actually gets arrested by him and his companion Tamriel. Tamriel is his adopted daughter. She'll be popping up in a minute. The dress, though. Oh, you're talking about Roshin's dress? We'll flip back to that. Yeah, Roshin's dress it was so much fun to color in. It was so much fun to color in. I just took like my blue marker and I just colored and left white spaces for the clouds. It was a lot of fun to do. I got a lot more creative with how I used Copic markers during this art challenge. Like, one thing I really like about this Cleaver sketch is how the metal of the axe came out. I really like that lighting effect there. I have to highlight Carlos's comment because it's Halloween. I like to collect hands for references. Oh, goodness. Okay, I never heard of Ibis paint. So, are you able to get Corel Draw? Because if you are, I do recommend Corel Draw. I had an art friend who used Corel Draw a lot. It has a lot of the same functionality as Photoshop or GIMP. GIMP is free if you want to give GIMP a try. GIMP is like free version of Photoshop. There you go. Cargo sweats. Yes, he is wearing cargo sweats. Oh, these are all idea sketches for different things. I actually want to do something like, okay, there we go. Lighting. Jeez. I want to do this for a Kitties by Kelsey design at some point. Just haven't gotten around to it yet. This is Fidget from Julia. Julia is my retelling of The Little Mermaid. We'll actually highlight Julia in a minute. But this is Fidget. He is a carpenter. I love how hairy he is. I like drawing hairy dudes. Don't ask me why. This is Princess Rosetta from my retelling of Swan Lake. This is the princess who plays the role of the prince in the original ballet. So she's going to be rescuing her lover who has been cursed into swan form. Ooh, I'll go ahead and highlight this. Jessica with all of the good suggestions. Concepts and Art Flow are rather nice art programs. They are on Android and I think iPad. I have Android tablets. My wife has iPad for school. There you go. Concepts and Art Flow. Good suggestions, both of those. I have not used either one, but there you go. But yes, this is Princess Rosetta. I really like how, in particular, her like overvest came out. It's a really hard to tell with this camera. I really need a better webcam, but there are some subtle swirls in there. I really like how that came out. I also really like the boots. Lots of people really liked the boots. Oh, I'll show off this guy. He wasn't for Inktober, but I really needed to draw him. So, boop. Oh, this is an important thing to highlight. Concepts, the program, is all about vectors, which can be fun to use. Vectors can be fun. It works differently from Photoshop because Photoshop is a raster program. Clip Studio Paint is a raster program. I'm pretty sure Ibis Paint would also be a raster program if it enables you to draw. But vectors can be fun to work with. The cool thing with vectors is it's all math-based. So if you wanted to expand the art, like make it large or make it small, you can absolutely do that, and the image quality won't be sacrificed for it because it's all math. You don't really have that effect when it comes to Photoshop. Rasters work in a different way, for anybody who might be curious. This is back to the Inktober sketches. This is Riley from The Others. She built Nautilus. She also went missing in a lab fire, and Gunter is investigating the lab fire and her disappearance. This is true, since we're talking about vector stuff. Clip Studio can do vectors, but there are strange limitations on them. It's because Clip Studio is, oh God, hold on. I'm doing a lot of talking. I just realized the mug warmer's not been on. Oh, geez. Okay. The reason for the strange limitations is because Clip Studio is raster first. It can do vectors, but in limited ways. So line tools and the speech bubbles in particular, and sometimes textures, because I've been working a lot more with textures for New Punk Signal and Ninit E. Ninit E is a short story that I'm working on with a comics anthology. I've been incorporating a lot of textures in there. Some of the textures are vector-based. Makes it really easy to expand and contract and rotate around as you need to. However, if you're going to do anything more specific than that, you do need to rasterize it. So you can take a vector and make it raster, but you cannot take a raster and make it vector. Math. Okay, anyway, so I was showing off Riley. I really like how the boots came out in particular, but all of her is just great. This is Tamriel from The Name of the Forest Spirit. This is Cleaver's adopted daughter. She is primarily a ice sorceress. She uses her ice powers to bind up bounties because she is a bounty hunter. So she will use ice powers to ensnare her targets. It's funny because Rune Mage is a fire mage, and the two do not get along. This is Amira Asha Zinab. I have to double check her name because she's still fairly new in my sketchbooks. This is Rosetta's girlfriend, basically. This is the girl who gets turned into a swan. But I just really like her. She is also the exact opposite of the character that I originally had in mind for the story to be Rosetta's love interest. To give you a behind the scenes of developing this story. Yes, I also love her outfit. It is delightful. Also, probably won't be able to see it because of the lighting, but there are subtle swirls and paisley patterns in that dress. It'll pop up better in print in the book version. You just can't see it because the webcam is not great. But when this goes to print in the Stars of Fantasyville, out now on Kickstarter, check out tinyurl.com/Stars of Fantasyville or the link in the description. Hint, hint, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. When this comes to print, you can see the pattern better. You just can't see it because the webcam is not stellar. When a little behind the scenes look at the development of this story, because this idea popped into my head back in like 2018, I want to say 2018, 2017, one of those years, a few years ago, I was like, what if the story of Swan Lake, aka Swan Princess, because at the time I go through phases where I'll find a movie and then I'll play that movie in the background while I'm working, and then eventually I'm like, okay, this isn't giving me serotonin anymore. Got to find a new movie. For a while back in like 2018, that movie was Swan Princess. Don't ask me why. But when I was watching Swan Princess or having it play in the background for like the 17th time, I went, what if it was the prince that turned into a swan and not the princess? And then I started developing the idea from there. Then I was talking with some friends of mine because at one point during the development, I was like, I'm going to put this on the shelf. There's other stuff going on. And I hit a little bit of a block with this story. Let's just put it on the shelf. We'll come back to it later. Last month, I was talking with my friends and talking about how I want to revisit my retelling of Swan Lake. And I was like, I'm really stumped on the idea. And I told them that I wanted to do like the gender swap version with the prince being turned into a swan and the princess being the lover who has to rescue him. And then my friend Chloe went, make it gay. And I was like, yes, but not boys. The reason for that was because one of the reasons I shelved the project was because I wanted to work with main characters who were people of color. When I realized the story kind of required the male love interest to turn into a swan, I was like, oh no, this plays into the trope of man of color turns into animal to learn a life lesson. Only in Swan Lake, there's not a lesson for him to learn. So I was like, that's the telenovela. Juan Lake. That's the Mexican telenovela. Out now. Pretty sure it plays on Thursdays. But yeah, when I originally came up with the idea, I was like, I'm gonna put this aside because I need to figure out how to not have that undertone there. So when my friend Chloe went, make it gay, I went, but if both the love interests are boys, that still keeps the problem of male character of color turns into animal. And then I went, what if they were both princesses? And that was what clicked. There were also a number of themes in the story that I was like, it would be a lot better if both of the characters were just girls. So, yeah, the romance in my retelling of Swan Lake is lesbian love story. It's a sapphic love story. There we go. That's the twist. So this is the swan. I really like her. I also really like how when I came up with her character, she was the opposite of the male character who was originally going to play her. The male character was going to be this like brash, overly energetic dude, but she is so not that. She's quiet. She's not timid, but she's more reserved. She's soft-spoken, but she comes from a long line of warrior queens. So there's that expectation that eventually she'll get her voice and she'll be loud and bombastic, but she's just not that. She is not that at all. She's more reserved, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. This is Julia from my retelling of The Little Mermaid, because in the original story, she asked for legs. She did not ask for them to work. That was the twist that I put on the story. There's a few other things about the story that I'm like really jazzed about, but this is Julia. She and Fidget built that chair. Also, she uses sign language because she did sacrifice her voice to get legs. So in this version, she is mute and unable to walk, but she does use sign language. So that's cool. Also, Nautilus, a character I highlighted earlier, also uses sign language because in the world of the others, when humans are converted into cyborgs, their vocal cords are cut. But when Riley was building him, she was like, I know some sign language because I was nonverbal until the age of 5. And my parents taught me sign language so that I could communicate. So I'm going to teach this cyborg some American Sign Language. So Nautilus knows how to speak in sign language. So does Riley, because Riley was the one who taught it to him. For folks who are subscribed on any of my subscriber clubs, you'll know that in a past email, I was like, anybody know any good sign language resources? I found this website, which is pretty good. But if anybody can make any recommendations, let me know. So, and then for warm-ups the other day, I was doing composition practice. I've been reading Blue Period, which is a delightful manga. And one of the chapters in volume 4, one of the art teachers makes the recommendation for the main character to practice compositions. Just draw basic shapes in thumbnails like this and just draw as many as you can within a week. And I decided to take that up because I was like, my compositions could use some work. So that's what that is. This is Blue. This is Roshin's boyfriend. Roshin and Blue are not perfect people. So Roshin is conflict averse. Blue's primary love language is giving gifts. Unfortunately, he takes that to mean that in order for a gift to be meaningful, it has to cost a lot. So he works really hard to get the money to get more gifts. That is not Roshin's love language. Roshin's love language is quality time spent. So him being away is upsetting Roshin because Roshin just wants to spend more time with Blue. Blue is upset that all of these gifts that he's giving Roshin aren't doing anything and she's still unhappy. So that's the struggle. You might have seen Blue in Animal Crossing. I don't know. I don't play the game, but there is probably an avatar in Animal Crossing that looks like this. So yeah. And then we're back to Leslie. I highlighted him earlier in the stream. Really like how he turned out. And Billy from Thoughtful Dinosaur, which, by the way, for folks who are members of the zine and pin clubs, you're able to vote on the next zine that I make for November. One of the things that you could pick is you could have me make a short zine all about Billy. My uncle speaks sign language and I don't understand really what he is saying. So something I found out when I was learning about sign language is that sign language is different depending on the language it's based on. American Sign Language is based on American English. There's also Japanese Sign Language, and I would not be surprised if there was Turkish Sign Language. Also, found out that Turkey is home to another type of language that actually appears in the story that Blue, Fulus, and Roshin are a part of. And that's a whistling language. Whistling languages appear in Turkey and places where Spanish is the primary language. There are actually whistled versions of those languages so that people can like stand on a mountaintop and just whistle and it can be translated into Spanish or Turkish, which is just so cool. So I incorporated a whistling language into the story that Blue, Fulus, and Roshin are a part of. because I was like, that's just so cool. That would also explain why there are no cell phones and not a lot of internet in this small, coastal town. Also, I decided the story that features Fulus, Roshin, and Blue takes place in the same universe as Johnson and Sir and Thoughtful Dinosaur. So there you go. I've noticed that I tend to work in threes. Like there will be at least like 3 stories that take place in the same universe. So Thoughtful Dinosaur, Johnson and Sir, and this sea coastal town story that still needs a name. Those 3 stories take place in the same universe. Right now, with the Legend of Jamie Roberts, there's the Legend of Jamie Roberts, the Legend of Norsa, and the Legend of Ajumi all take place in the same universe, just in different timelines. Hold on, I'm getting a little warm. Tea break. I'm actually going to warm this up. This is hand sculpted by a Ohio potter, but it is microwave safe. So I will be right back. I love that this microwave dings. I'm pretty sure that contraption is from the 70s, but it works. Okay. It is 3:15. Unfortunately, today's stream is gonna need to cap off at a few minutes before 4 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, I have a meeting with the folks who are running a new comics anthology. We're hashing out the final details before they launch their Kickstarter. Because I was hoping to have the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, launched a little sooner, but there was a lot of debate with the folks running this anthology about who would launch their Kickstarter first. So eventually it was decided I would launch first, and then they would launch most likely later this week. So keep an eye out for that. Because I was the comics editor for that particular anthology. We'll do cross promotions for our Kickstarters. So I will likely have an extra bonus reward for folks who support the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, and What the Gnomes Know, a comics anthology that'll debut later this week on Kickstarter. More details about that will be figured out the closer we get to the launch date of their campaign. So just put a pin in that. We'll revisit it later. This is a good segue back into the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook on Kickstarter. Why did I go back to Kickstarter? For folks who don't know, I had transitioned away from Kickstarter a while ago because Kickstarter had announced the intention of accepting blockchain, and which would eventually lead into like crypto and NFTs. I am not a fan of that decision. most creators who used Kickstarter to crowdfund their projects did not like this announcement. And eventually Kickstarter walked it back and said if they did pursue blockchain further, it would be as a separate platform, separate from Kickstarter. Talking about that sounds really interesting about the cross platform promotion. Yes, we will get to that probably in another live stream in the future. Sorry, catching up on comments. Okay, so yeah, after The Legend of Jamie Roberts Volume 1 ran on Kickstarter and dealing with the headaches that came from that, I did a short campaign, like 1 week, to get Kay the Valkyrie made as a print. So I did that on Kickstarter. Then after that, my next crowdfunding campaign was on Ko-fi. And I gave Ko-fi a shot, and it mostly worked. I should really write a blog post detailing how to make Ko-fi work for funding your book printing, because it was an interesting experiment. I don't think I would ever repeat it. But that can be for a separate live stream or a blog post or something. Just, it did work. It did work to have Ko-fi as a crowdfunding platform to get Roxy, the comic, to print. But I don't think I'd ever run another book printing crowdfund on Ko-fi ever again. Oh yeah, I feel this. I need a bigger place to hang up all the art I'm getting from you and others. So I actually have some supporters of mine who are based in Wheeling, West Virginia, who had texted me periodically being like, we have an entire wall just for your art that's in our office space. And I'm like, that's amazing. Holy banana pants. So I get that. Because like their wall is also kind of filling up. That's also kind of why I'm transitioning away from doing prints. We'll get to that later. For folks who want more details about that, head on over to my website, link in the doobly-doo, and check out my blog post about Ice Tier Con 3. Because I go in a little bit more depth about why I'm not doing prints anymore. Or at least if I do prints again, it's not going to be for a long while. Yeah, totally get that. So anyway, sorry, looking at comments. I lost my train of thought. Give me a minute. I'm going to sip my tea and see if I can get the train back on the rails. Insert the gif of woman staring confused while like calculus equations float in the air. Thank you, Jessica. Why am I back on Kickstarter? Okay. So after I did a Ko-fi crowdfund to get Roxy to print, I took a break from doing crowdfunding campaigns, other than just Ko-fi. And by using Ko-fi, I mean running my online store on there, using it as a tip jar. And at the time I was doing like monthly reward things. I don't do monthly memberships on Ko-fi anymore. Because Ko-fi they're still kind of a new platform and they have a lot of bugs to work through. So that's another reason why I wouldn't want to use Ko-fi for like a crowdfunding campaign to get a book to print. Did not do another crowdfund until we were getting closer to Small Press Expo weekend in September. Then the sponsor for the show reached out to me. They said, hi, we're a crowdfunder. We're a new alternative to Kickstarter. We've been working with independent comics creators to bring you the features that you as the indie creator like and that the customers are jazzed about. We want to give you the chance to test out our platform, see how you like it, and let us know what you think. So I went on there and I poked around. The one of the representatives of the company actually had a sit down like video chat with me and showed me the features that Crowdfunder had. And I was really jazzed to work on that. And I was like, heck yeah, I'm going to use that to do a little test run. Let's launch, I don't know, a keychain mini campaign. It'll last for 3 days and we can have it run for all 3 days. I'm going to ask for $100. $100 is what I need to get like 50 keychains printed. There we go. Let's do it. Funded within 20 minutes. Thank you, everybody. Then at the end of the 3 days, I was like, sweet, I have everything that I need to get all of these printed and done. And then Crowdfunder reached back out to me and they were like, hey, we saw that you had a successful campaign. However, we also saw that you were a vendor at Small Press Expo. If you want us to promote your campaign so that you can get more pledges, you really need to have a campaign that runs until the last day of Small Press Expo. So we do have the tools so that you can extend the deadline if you would like to take advantage of that. And I had already sent them the print files to make bookmarks to promote this campaign. So I was like, all right, I'll extend the deadline. So I extended it. And thankfully, Crowdfunder had the programming in place to actually do that. So that was really nice. There are a number of features that I really like about Crowdfunder. Crowdfunder does not have the crowd that Kickstarter has yet. Kickstarter has a lot of built-in users already. Crowdfunder is new. It is very new. At the time that I ran the Dragon Baby keychain Crowdfunder, at the time that I ran that campaign, the platform had only been open for like a month. So there's still a lot of room for them to grow. There's also a couple of like back-end functionalities in terms of me as the creator looking at a person's pledge to see what did they pre-order. There are a number of things about that functionality that really need to get fixed. Because Kickstarter is a lot more straightforward with being able to look at the backer list and be like, okay, this person, what did you order exactly? And it'll tell you on Kickstarter, like, this person pledged this much, they want these things. Crowdfunder, you have to click a few more times in order to get that information. And even then you have to really parse it out. So, and until that kind of gets looked at, and until Crowdfunder gets a larger user base, I went back to Kickstarter. Yeah, Crowdfunder is a slow build. They are a slow build, but the tools that they have in place right now are very good. I think for Crowdfunder, I would use them again for smaller projects. Like if I were to do another like limited edition pin, I would go to Crowdfunder for that. But Kickstarter is really good for bigger projects. And by bigger projects, I mean, say, the first print run of a new book. Because Kickstarter has a built-in audience. It's really easy for people to be on Kickstarter and be like, what are some new projects I can check out? And they can look up new projects that way. It's really easy for Kickstarter users to do that. Crowdfunder doesn't have that functionality yet. They're getting there. They just don't have it yet. So those reasons are why I went to Kickstarter for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. there are a number of things when I went back to building this Kickstarter campaign that I was like, oh man, I really like how Crowdfunder did this. Kickstarter could really learn a thing or two from Crowdfunder, particularly with add-ons. I really like how Crowdfunder handles add-ons. Kickstarter could really improve on that front. I get the feeling Kickstarter add-ons are a new-ish enough feature on Kickstarter that they still need to work out some of the kinks. But Crowdfunder, they got that like on lock. It's so good. So I tried to keep the descriptors of the add-ons on the Stars of Fantasyville on Kickstarter. I tried to keep the descriptors for the add-ons as simple as possible and to have the titles be as straightforward as possible. Because here's the other thing about Kickstarter versus Crowdfunder. Kickstarter add-ons, when somebody picks an add-on, on the backer report that I see, it only gives me the title of that add-on. It does not give me a description of the reward. It gives me a description of the reward for the base reward, but not the add-on. So that could be worked on. So feedback for anybody at Kickstarter who's listening to this live stream or catching the replay. There we go. But I'm still offering add-ons on the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook on Kickstarter, because I wanted to keep the reward list as simple as possible. I've found in past campaigns when the reward list is super short, meaning like 4 items or less, you get a lot more pledges that way. That said, I tried to incorporate as many digital rewards as I could, because I am aware not everybody who reads my stuff is based in the United States like I am. And some people don't want to pay $15 US for shipping. So I have digital rewards available for people who are international, who still want to support this work, but don't want to pay a bunch of money for shipping fees. So that's why that's there. I am now suddenly very, very self-conscious about my mannerisms on live streams, because like I saw an article recently that was like, here's how you can spot a liar. Do they touch their nose a lot? Do they pause mid-sentence a lot? And I'm like, I do those things, but it's because my brain is wired dumb. I have a touch of the tism. I'm not a liar. I'm just brain busted. Like my brain does not work the way that others do. That, and there are other ways that people can lie. So like, yeah. People with allergies are liars. Sounds stupid. It's absolutely stupid. That's like the story from the Dear Hank and John podcast. There was a reader submission who they submitted a comment about how a person went to a doctor, and the person was like, I went to this doctor because I was experiencing asthmatic symptoms. And I went to them being like, do I have asthma? And the doctor looked at me and went, do you sneeze? And I was like, only a normal amount. And the doctor says, it's not normal to sneeze. I never sneeze. And it's like, how does this medical doctor not sneeze? Is there a normal amount of sneezing? Is it normal not to sneeze? Is this person an alien? Like, people are weird. Yeah, no, like my respiratory system has been wacky. Like, not because of COVID. Like, I thought that because I got sick with COVID right before Small Press Expo weekend, I was so mad about that. But I've since recovered. I was like down for like a week, and then I bounced back up, and I was like, oh, the only thing that's present is brain fog. And then brain fog went away after a month. But Jessica, when I have an asthma attack, I don't sneeze. How odd. I don't know what that doctor is thinking with the whole, like, it's not normal to sneeze. Like, it is normal to sneeze. That's your olfactory nerves being overstimulated. That's what that is. Or it's something tickling the olfactory nerves. Vince McMahon is weird. Have to highlight this comment from the Los because Vince McMahon hated sneezes, shows lack of control. God, people are weird. People are so weird. Sorry, thinking about the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, and how all of them are character sketches kind of makes me go, what would these characters think about sneezing? Because, like, most likely, I mean, I do have one character who would absolutely be like, it is not normal to sneeze. But he is also an other. So the others have, when I say the others, it's spelled UTHERS. They're aliens. But whenever an other is like, it's not normal to sneeze, it's because their noses are structured different. So there is at least one character in the roster who would be like, it's not normal to sneeze. Faloose, hold on, let me get a picture of Faloose. I got the cutest headcanon that just popped into my head regarding this character, and I have to show him so that you can follow along. So, this character, Faloose, this idea just popped into my head. If he ever sneezed, he would if he ever had to sneeze, he would be like, Achoo! Hold on, let me brush my hair back so that you can see. He would be like, Achoo! And I'm just thinking of that because there's a YouTube channel, Animal Wonders Montana. They're a animal rescue and sanctuary. They have a Quaker parrot named Chopsticks. And Chopsticks, he has this like trained response where if somebody goes achoo, not like an actual sneeze, but they just say achoo, he'll respond with achoo. And that's how he responds, and it's so cute. And I just had that thought of like, what if Faloose did that? So here we go, new headcanon. But yeah, I wanted to draw these characters for Inktober to get back into practice with Copic markers and to explore their characters a little bit more. And also, in some cases, decide on a color palette for these characters. Particularly with Gunter. Gunter was a character that I was like, I really need to figure out what colors will represent you the best. And also what colors would be like standard uniform for the police force in that universe. So that was a lot of the sketches during this Inktober challenge, was just taking a look at them and being like, okay, what colors represent you the best? Or being like, or taking a look at, like, say, Cleaver here, because he's from a novel, and I'm like, what would be the best representation of you that's not words? So, stuff like that. There is official art for Archie, the Michael Jackson posing vampire that I had earlier. There is actual official art of him drawn by Sabrina Rao. Shout out to Sabrina. She played the Flapper Girl roommate in Urban Shadows. If you want to give that campaign a listen, Shades of Chicago is what our campaign is called, on the fourth leg. But yeah, these characters are in the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, which is on Kickstarter now until November 18th. I don't know how much more we've raised today. I haven't looked since this morning, but last I looked, we had $156 raised and 9 backers. So thank you, backers, for getting us to that point. As the campaign progresses, I will be adding new limited edition add-ons, including this mermaid. I have other mermaid art that I will include as limited edition rewards or add-ons on the campaign. So keep an eye out for that. As the new limited edition add-ons come out, I will be posting updates of those on the Kickstarter campaign. So to check all of that out, go to tinyurl.com/stars-of-fantasyville. There is also a link in the description for you to check that campaign out. The base rewards are kept super simple. Once you pick on the reward that you want, you'll be led to a separate window asking what add-ons you would like to include with your reward. And that's the stuff that will be expanded on, have limited editions of. There's also currently a limited time early bird reward. It's only available until November 3rd. So if you have the means to, check that out. Absolutely. If there are any questions that you have about the Kickstarter campaign itself, now's a good time to ask them. I'm going to be live for another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to need to wrap this up so that I can make it to the meeting for What the Gnomes Know, a comics anthology, which will also release on Kickstarter later this week. Tea break for a second. There we go. So I'm going to reiterate. The Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, collects all of these sketches from Inktober this year and puts them all into one book. The book is also going to have an introduction written by me, and it will have a credits list for all of the Kickstarter backers who helped make the book possible. Does David the Gnome make a cameo? He might be on the back cover, because I was just thinking to myself, should I put characters on the back cover of this book? And I'm like, I might put a gnome on the back cover. I feel like that might be a stretch goal, though. Like, if What the Gnomes Know, a comics anthology, raises X amount of money, I will put a gnome somewhere in the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. Madam! Hold on, cat voice again.
Bree Bree! Don't scratch the walls! Come here. Oh, don't you run away from me. Don't you run away from me. Come back here, madam. I touched the baby. Oh, sweetie. I caught a baby. This little heathen was scratching the walls. Little booger. I'll pick that up later. You're getting snuggles whether you want them or not.
This cat has been demanding hugs so often for the last 72 hours. She just wants constant cuddles.
Yes, you. You want constant cuddles. I don't know why.
Maya the bee. Maya the bee, I think, will be also a stretch goal. If we reach a certain number of backers for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, don't you scratch the wall. Sorry, she was walking her way over there. But if we reach a certain number of backers for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, I will add Maya the bee on the cover somewhere, probably on the back. course, I still have to draw the Inktober sketch for tomorrow. I still got to figure out who I'm going to draw for that. I have not drawn Charlie yet for the challenge, but I've also been drawing Charlie a lot. Charlie is actually a character who's in the fighting game roster that I've been drawing off and on for the past year. More info about that at my blog, link in the doobly-doo. So I've been drawing her a bunch for that. So I may or may not feature her in the Inktober sketches themselves. She might be like on the credits page. Kind of the same way that here, I'll show this because this is also an add-on reward that you can get if you back the campaign.
It'd be nice.
Okay, here we go. This is The Legend of Jamie Roberts, Volume 1. This is one of the add-on rewards you can get if you back The Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook at tinyurl.com/Stars of Fantasyville. Link also in the description. So this book, when I formatted it, I actually had a multi-page thank you thing because there were a lot of people who helped make this book possible. I might do a kind of formatting similar to this when putting together the credits page for The Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, because it's like 80% done. The book is 80% done. Like the art is obviously drawn. The majority of it is already scanned in, edited for print. I just have to put the print files together for the book. That's not going to take very much time. So in that way, fulfillment for this campaign is going to be much faster when we make our goal. If we make our goal, help us make that goal. Help us make that goal. Link in the doobly-doo. So yes, Legend of Jamie Roberts, one of the add-on goals available, or one of the add-on rewards available for folks who back the campaign. There's the official version. There's also a misprint version. Full disclosure, the misprint version of The Legend of Jamie Roberts, Volume 1 is mostly fine, but there is a printer error on one of the pages in Chapter 2 where the page is offset like half an inch or so, and all of the colors are just off. I will show you what I mean, because I actually have misprint versions over here in a box. Also, shout out to Mixem for sending me this. This is a packet of all of their samples. When I took a look at this, I was like, oh, heck yeah, they sent me a free comic book. The free comic book, I was like, oh, heck yes, finally, something that looks decent. This gives me a good basis for what the art book will look like. Heck yes! Okay. So, there. Let me get to the correct page here. There it is. And I will read it out loud, like comic theater, in a minute. Yep, there it is. I spotted it. Yeah, this is the misprint version. Paper scrap. Okay. So, the version I will show you is the official one. This is the intended version. This is the version that will be in the correct prints for The Legend of Jamie Roberts. The page with the giraffe. Where it's like, what the? It's a horse thing! A spotted horse thing. You mean a giraffe? And you see how this panel looks. You see how all of the characters in that panel have all of their like colors in the lines. I'm going to show you the misprint version. This hurts me. This still hurts me to this day. This is the misprint version. The first print run of this book has this in all of its copies. It makes me so angry. Thankfully, the printer did fix the error and send me the updated print run, which is what this version is. This is the misprint version with the printer error. There's a reason why I switched to Mix'em for the Stars of Fantasyville sketchbook. How does that even happen? I talked about this with Nick, the guy over at this printer, who I usually talk to whenever I have questions or concerns. The best that we can figure out is, because like the digital files came out just fine. The files that their computer had looked just fine. Something must have happened in the step between the computer saying, print this file, and the printer saying, I'm printing this now. Something must have happened between those two steps that caused the page to come out like that. That's the best that we've been able to figure out. When they printed it a second time, it came out just fine. So I don't know what the heck happened. But that's the best that we've figured out. But I'm not working with that printer for the Stars of Fantasyville sketchbook. With the Stars of Fantasyville, I am working with Mix'em. Because in the experiences I have had working on Less Than Secret, a Cryptid anthology, Mix'em is very good. Another contributor to the anthology also worked with Mix'em to get books printed. Very good. So that's how that's happening. Now let me make sure that I'm setting aside. Okay, this is the misprint. This is the correct one. This is very important because they're kept in two different places, but they look the same on the outside. There we go. I'll keep this out because I don't want to walk into the other room. I'm going to need to wrap this up in like 5 minutes. I do have other thinking about art stuff. Circling back to art available for add-on purchase for the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. There will be other mermaid pieces. There's this one here. There is a black and white version that's white gel pen on black paper that will be coming out after this one releases. Oh, yes. The Less Than Secret books are wonderful. They are also available as an add-on reward for anybody who backs the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook, by the way. Less Than Secret is available as an add-on purchase. So there you go. Tons of add-ons available. Most of them, other stuff that I have made or been involved in. Okay. With that, it's 5 minutes to 4. I'm going to need to wrap this up now. So give me a second. I'm going to give some shout outs here. The shout out, this shout out screen that I'm about to bring up is actually a little, actually, I can't bring it up. I forgot that I don't have the, I don't have my external hard drive plugged in. So I'm not going to be able to bring up the thank you screen. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to go to, I have a thing called Subscribe. Subscribe is an alternative to Ko-fi memberships or Patreon, where if you give a certain amount each month, you get rewards. I have a digital club, a zine club, and a pin club. These clubs and their memberships are also available as add-ons for backing the Stars of Fantasyville, a sketchbook. When you join any of these clubs, You join an exclusive email newsletter that gets comic scripts, early webcomic updates, and other exclusive goodies. Zine and pin clubs are where you get a zine or a pin, or both, mailed to you each month. One of the rewards people get for joining any of these clubs is I give them a shout out at the end of live streams. So with that, let me get my little screen that tells me who's part of my clubs. Okay, so today's stream, I want to give a shout out to Ben Wright Human, Ella Q Lagerquist, Andrew Balk, Aaron C., Brian Bargar, Pat Jaderberg, and of course, our illustrious Jessica McIntosh for making this stream possible, for feeding the Bree.
Yes, you.
Keeping a roof over our heads, and supporting these comics and these art projects. No live stream next weekend. Next weekend, I am out of town for YumaCon. I am not selling at YumaCon. That's,
Madam,
stop it. YumaCon is my vacation convention, so I'm not going to be selling there. Next stream will be the weekend after that.
Madam!
Hold on. She clearly wants to be on camera, so.
No, no, you don't. Don't you run away from me. Come here. Yes, you. Come here. Madam?
All right, she's hiding under the table, so. All right. Anyway. So that's all for now. I hope you support the Kickstarter campaign at tinyurl.com/stars of Fantasyville. Link also in the description. If you are broke, share this live stream. Share the Kickstarter campaign far and wide. Please do so before November 18th. If you have questions about the campaign, feel free to reach out to me. Links available. That's all for now. More announcements to come on my website, kelseydcrawford.com. Link in the description. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. You are awesome.